All right, I want to take a moment to kind of walk us through this class. So the first thing I want to say is welcome to Freshman Comp 2. And excuse me, I'm Jamie Worthley, Professor Worthley. And I'm going to go straight into opening up Brightspace. I'm going to view it as a student so I can see what you see. All right, let me share my screen. Share, share screen options. Change things up a little bit. Okay, what have you got to do? Just want to share my screen. Share. There we go. Okay, that's a little bit different. Anyway, so here is what our screen looks like. And so here's a little welcome announcement that it just says welcome to class. That's pretty much all. That's pretty much all it says. And to give me until this afternoon to get things updated. So here I am updating things. All right, so here's our Brightspace shell. Here's course home is where you'll find your announcements. Content is where you find, of course, the content of the class. Discussions is where we will have our discussions. Here's the memoir. Need to update these dates, but anyway, I'll get to that here soon. So there's our memoir discussion board. Activities and assessments. That is where you'll find the this plagiarism, this pretest. We have to do this plagiarism quiz. Oops. I gotta edit that. It says it's due January. It won't let you take that if it's due January. So I have to make sure that we do our assessment. We'll go over that here in just a minute. More tools and grades. So here's your grade book. So you'll see this is what your grade book should look like. And this is where you'll see your grades over here, and you should have a grade up here. And so if you don't, you guys, let me know if we've got a couple grades in and you have a grade up here. Let me know. It says due June 2nd. That's what you have the week. We do that in class in person on June 2nd, and I fill that in. But you'll be fine as long as you guys, they're called Memoir Mondays, and you have all week to do the memoir. So don't worry about that. We're going to go over these assignments here in just a moment. All right, I'm just showing you what these are. So course home is where you're going to see your announcements, content. That's the bulk. That's where you're going to see most, everything that we're going to talk about. Discussions is where your discussions will be. So whenever we have a class discussion, if this says discussion, you're going to go here. Activities and assessments. That's the only assessment you're going to have is the MLA quiz. I don't have any other tests. And then the assignments is where you're going to upload your assignments whenever I have those folders ready for you. I don't like for you to see multiple folders because it gets a little scary, like you have a lot of assignments due and whatnot. So whenever we have an assignment due, you'll see your folder there. And that's really all that you need, and more tools and grades. So you really don't need any of this stuff. So we have just more tools in this way. That's really all. Oh, here we go. This says points and grade. That's what you'll see on your final calculated grade. You'll see points and grade whenever I get some points in. All right, we're going to start with content. And I'm just going to click on table of contents so it shows everything. So table of contents shows everything. Now you can just go to block 1, block 2, or block 3. I haven't quite finished block 4 just yet. And so I want to redo a couple things before we get there. All right. So here's some Seminole State information. Here's what you can look at the library. There's where you can go to My SSC. Where you can log in, look at our bookstore. Here's the phone number to contact Seminole State. Here's the tutoring, right? Here's a financial aid portal. So I just put it all right here so you don't have to go hunting it down everywhere else. You can just look on our Brightspace. So here's our first day. I don't want to read all this. You can, but it says, "Welcome to Comp 2 with Professor Worthley." This course focuses on inclusive learning and your academic identity, which encompasses ideas such as your critical analysis skills, your critical application skills, your growth as a person, right? So this class is all about you. This is all about you and your ability to build new knowledge onto old knowledge, your ability to incorporate your own personal experience into essays. And that's exactly what all this kind of means. All right. And it says this one is about 20. I don't know if it'll be that long or not. My last one was about that long because I go over the class and the first assignment. So it's a little bit longer. I usually try to keep my videos under 15 minutes, but this one will also go over the first essay. All right. So then we go into, so after first day of class, there is our syllabus. So you're able to download the end of the syllabus actually so it's a pretty long syllabus. It goes over, the um course objectives, learning objectives, all that. But at the very bottom of the syllabus, if you keep scrolling all the way down, it has a points chart. So here's a points chart. The only thing that's a little different that I missed is that this outline is actually worth 25 because we have a discussion. So discussion is worth 25 and the outline is worth 25. And so I forgot about that. First for the definition and for the literary. And then the advertisement argument has two discussions. And anyway, so if it says that an essay is worth 300 points, it's actually the whole unit is worth 300 points. All right, and then towards the end we'll do an evaluation that I need to just finish up. But anyway, so here is your points chart, right? And so we're going to start with a journal, a memoir, meaning our memories. So we're journaling our memories in that, not just what we ate today or how we're feeling, which there's nothing wrong with that. But we just want to look at the stories that made us who we are. So we're going to do those every Monday. Once a week, we're going to do a memoir, a multimedia memoir. Actually, no, once every other week. So this is not the 4-week class, is an 8-week class. So every other week, we're going to do a memoir. All right. Then we're going to go into the definition essay, the literary analysis. I'm going to go over that here in just a moment. I just wanted to show you that you do have a points chart that you can print out at the end of the syllabus. And then here's my schedule, just when I'll be teaching online and whatnot, right? So that's all at the bottom of the syllabus. So you're more than welcome to look over the syllabus. We have our catalog description, our rationale. We have a textbook. We don't look at the grammar so much in the textbook as much as, I mean, it's there for you to use. So if you see that you have a lot of run-on sentences and whatnot, then you can look that up in the textbook to help you. So it is very useful. We just mostly use the MLA part of the book, and we use things like audience, target audience, where we look at the audience. We look at purpose, the reason why we write, so things like that for the syllabus. All right, so again, learning objectives, course objectives, these are all really important because if you don't meet these learning and these course objectives, then you don't pass the class. So I've had students in the past who maybe wrote all of the assignments and still didn't pass because they may have written the assignments, but they didn't have maybe the MLA documentation and they didn't have an argument. I've had students who wrote an essay, but it wasn't an argumentative essay. And so we have to meet these these learning objectives, right? So those are very important. So you can read over those. Learning objectives. You can read all over those. We do have a course embedded assessment that I was talking about a moment ago. So you go to activities and assessments, and you'll see those assessments there. Here's my attendance policy. That's really face-to-face attendance policy, but anyway. Grading policy, again, we have that multimedia memoir. We have 3 essays, actually 4. I don't know why this font came out smaller. Anyway, we actually have 4 essays, but the final one is a 1-page assessment. That's not like a full essay. We have MLA assignment in essay 3. So you have an MLA requirement. Looks like that one's and that one also. Some of these fonts are kind of weird anyway. You have a PowerPoint at the end. So I'm going to go over all this here in just a moment in content, but it is spelled out a little bit more in the syllabus. So you can see these things in the syllabus. That's where we talk about accessibility, diversity, AI use. I want to hone in on use of AI in this class. So any use of AI is prohibited when it comes to writing your essay. So the essay that you turn in, if it has any AI, then if it's flagged for any AI, then students will get a 0 on that essay and you'll have to redo it, right? And what that means like predictive text in Microsoft Word. So if you're typing your essay and your document is telling you good words to choose and it's filling in word choices for you, it's filling in sentences for you, it's correcting your grammar for you, we can definitely tell those types of things. And so we cannot have any type of we don't have any kind of predictive text. We don't want any of that. We don't want Grammarly. We don't want ChatGPT, any of those. And I will say, I actually used Grammarly to create an essay over the Raven for me, just to kind of give a basic outline. And it wasn't very well written. I will tell you, most AI essays really only get a C or a D in my class anyway, because they don't go into depth and they don't cover what I want students to cover. So it's a little bit hard to get AI to write the essays for you whenever I'm asking us to put our personal experience into these essays, to relate to the points that we make in these essays. Um, so AI, they usually don't come up with very good essays. Anyway, so we don't want to use any of those in this class. We are looking at ways of incorporating AI in the classroom. And I don't mind if you use it like finding one better or a few better words, but not every single word. It's telling you what to say as predictive text, and it's predicting it for you. Um, or even brainstorming possible ideas for an essay. I did that. Brainstorming an outline for an essay, and then you're saying, "Oh, okay, I'm changing it. I'm going to fill in some deeper ideas, some more critically analyzed points as I'm using this AI." All right. So don't use AI, uh, except for just to get some ideas. So there's a chain of command, right? So if you have an issue, then you have to go to me, and then you have to go to my chairman, the division chair. And anyway, so there's that chain of command if you have any issues. All right. Assessment, again, we're going to go over that. There's general education outcomes. We just updated those, right? And there's general syllabus information, and then it goes into the points chart. All right, I'm trying not to make this too long, so let's go on over to content. So if you jump on over to content, you will see block one, definition essay. So the very first essay that we write, we want to watch The Social Dilemma. And here's the script, right? So we want to watch this documentary. You can either watch it here or on Netflix. So here's The Social Dilemma. It's about social media, so you can watch it here or you can watch it on Netflix. And then we also have the full script too. So where am I at? Here we go. The script is you can download this, you can print it, but it's who says what pretty much. And I condensed this a lot and I broke it down into how the social dilemma is in my opinion, how so it talks about the issues, it talks about how we are the product, and then it goes into how we became the product. Dopamine drug of social media. We cannot overcome this, polarization and more effects. This is the problem. This is my favorite quote right there. And here's the solution, right? And then, so whenever we're using them in our essay, we want to quote the person who said it. But in the in-text citation, we're going to go over all that later. But that's where this comes in handy, right? So 6 minutes in, 6 minutes and 5 seconds in, 9 minutes in. So these are going to come in really handy. This right here, I try to make it easy as I can. This information right here is going to come in very handy when we go to write the essay. So it's very important that you use this, that you highlight in this. Print it out if you need to. I have prints. If you want to print, let me know. But print this out if you need to. It's about 6 pages long. And just as you watch it, highlight some of the things that they say. And if I miss something that you liked that I didn't put in the script, again, I went from 15 minutes to 16 minutes here. And then so there's some pretty big jumps. Fill that in. Anyway, there's some pretty big jumps, 24 to 28 minutes, and so 29 to 30. So there's some pretty big jumps here and where I pulled out what I thought was important that these speakers said. All right, so you may not agree with what's important of what they said. So, but there is a script. So you can just have the script in front of you and you can highlight in the script what these people say. All right. So that is our oh, that's the social dilemma, right? Now we're going to go into the prompt. So here's the essay one. Here's our essay prompt. And then of course, we'll just yeah, we'll just do that. So the first essay, I'll open it here in just a minute because I want to go into block two and block three, and then we'll go back to this one. So the documentary, we want to watch the documentary, and then we're going to write a definition essay where we're redefining a term like friendship, right? And there's a whole lot. I have a whole list on the prompt, a whole list of ones you can choose from. And if you don't want to use one of the ones that I have, then you can ask about a different word. Right, I'm going to go back to that. After that, so after this essay, after this definition essay, we're going to go into detail at the end of this video. We're going to go into a literary analysis essay, and that is over The Raven. So we're going to read The Raven. Here is, I don't know why you can't open these. Maybe because of the time that I put, because it starts June 16th. But anyway, I might see about that. But here's The Raven. That's a full uh, poem. There's the full poem of The Raven. Here's the Raven movie that you can watch to get a better understanding what's going on. Here's a couple of links where The Raven is explained. And then we'll have some bonus work. I'm going to update that a little bit better. Um, but you will be able to do some like up to 25 points if you make a video or if you rewrite part of The Raven or something like that. So we will do a literary analysis of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. And then you'll be able to have some kind of creative license if you want to do some bonus work for redoing part of The Raven. All right, so a literary analysis is just where you only analyze the literature. We don't want to bring ourselves into it just yet because we can bring the Raven into what we have to say when we get to the bigger essay, which is the research essay. So the research essay is about 6 pages at least, and it has 6 sources. So 6 to 8 pages has 6 sources, and that's where we start bringing in social media from the social dilemma. We're going to bring the social dilemma back. So make sure that you actually watch it. I've had students in the past who didn't watch it, and so use it in 2 different essays. So make sure that you watch the social dilemma. So we're going to bring the social dilemma back. We'll look at allegory of the cave. We'll look at a lot of other sources where you talk about. You can bring the Raven back in, and we're going to talk about how to do that. But you can talk about things like instant gratification, identity and masks, self-worth. Becoming the product is the main one that I talk about. Branding manipulation, that is, you are what you wear, you are what you drive. So we're going to watch some Super Bowl commercials and compare the idea of being a product to social media. Anyway, just going to have a lot of fun with this argumentative research essay. So you are welcome to, here's a whole lot of here's some sources. There's the argumentative advertisement argument prompt. Here's a lot of sources. This one right here, the Shipley's Self-Love, you definitely need to read that one. That's a good source whenever we get here. All right. And then, of course, we get to block 4, the very end, and I'm going to redo a few things on that before we get there. All right, so let's go back to our definition essay. Let's look at the prompt. Here is the definition, documentary definition prompt. All right. So, okay, good. For this first essay, we want to write a 2-page, about 700 to 750 word essay that focuses on the documentary social dilemma and personal experience. That's it, just the documentary and personal experience, right? So we want to use the script and the documentary to demonstrate critical analysis of the social dilemma by discovering 3 narrow topics that relate to you, right? So you can read these guidelines and all that. I'm going to skip down to the second page. So what we do is we choose from one of these following terms, and we're going to redefine that term, right? Like friendship. So what is the history of the word friendship? You don't have to go all the way back to its original, but what is a little bit of the history of the word friendship, or friend, friend request. These are my friends, my Facebook friends, my social media friends, right? So you can kind of redefine friend and tell me specific experience, specific story, specific experience of you and you being a friend, or maybe someone being a friend to you, or maybe a time where they weren't a very good friend to you, and why is that, right? Or you can use something like, let's see, gratification is one of my favorites. This idea of instant gratification and gratification. What is that to you? Influencer is one of the best ones here. Like influencer. So now we have social media influencers, right? It's what my children like to watch instead of cartoons. Anyway, so we have ideas like social media influencer and influence. What is that meant in the past? Who was someone who influenced you, right? Who was an influencer to you? Who influenced you in the past? And how was that term changed uh, now that we have, influencers, right? So here's a whole lot of different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 terms. If you don't want to do one of my terms, like isolation, that's a good one to go along with Edgar Allan Poe, by the way. But if you don't want to do one of my terms, then tell me which one do you want to do? What do you want to do, right? So that's what this first essay is. You watch the social dilemma and you redefine a term using social dilemma. Um, you're welcome to use block one. You're welcome to use this. I watched a lot of videos and I found this one the most helpful. So this right here, this definition essay tutorial, it's pretty helpful where she talks about how to write the definition essay and whatnot, right? Again, here's another place where you can find social dilemma. I will say that this class will not discuss from 1 hour, 3 minutes in to 1 hour, 14 minutes in, where it gets very political, right? Discuss a lot of political influences and issues. We will not discuss or write about political views for our definition essay. So don't ask. I don't want to get political with this essay. We're not going to talk about polarization and being political at all. So we're save that for political classes. Save that, not for composition. For composition, we're going to write about what we relate to because we have to bring in that personal experience. That is not that is a 100% requirement of the course is to bring in personal experience. All right, so we're going to start that this week, and then on next week we'll start structuring it. So go into week 2. That's week 1. If you go into week 2, we'll start structuring it. So social dilemma, we'll have a discussion board next week. We have a discussion board, and then we just write it. So submit the social dilemma discussion board, the documentary definition essay by June 16th. And you don't need to submit what's called the revision checklist, which I need to upload if you use it in your essay, because it's just a checklist where you go by and check, yes, I did that. Yes, I did that. The checklist says like, did you use second person you? Did you use contractions? All these tedious things that I have to constantly grade when students really should know not to use them in your essays. But anyway. Okay, the very last thing I want to talk about is the assessments. So we have the assessment is a plagiarism quiz that you have to make a 100 on, but I have to change that due date. All right, so that's what this week, I'm going to do that here in just a moment. So again, if you go back to content, you look at week 1, this is what we need to do. The syllabus, Brightspace, I just deleted intro. We don't have that's what I'm making right now is introductory presentation. So what I'm doing right now, syllabus, look on Brightspace, look under the points chart, which is in the syllabus, watch the social dilemma, and write your first memoir. Syllabus assignments, anyway. And so we'll go to discussions. So your memoirs are on the discussion board. You don't have to put them on the discussion board. You can if you want to. Those aren't the correct ones. So the first one is a sensory story or haiku. I'm going to pause this real quick. I'm going to pause this and put my sensory story on there. Pause video. Where do I pause the video? There we go. All right, so now I have the correct one on there. So if you go to discussions, the memoir discussion, that very first one is there, June 2 through 6, sensory story and haiku. So there's my example story. Here's my example haiku, and I'll mix these dates. I'll fix the rest of the other ones later. I'm actually going to make them invisible here in just a moment. But there's the first one, June 2 through 6, sensory story and haiku. So you can either put it on the discussion board or you can go to, actually, I'm just going to do this, you guys watching. So you can do that or go to activities and assignments, and you can put it in activities and assignments. So if you don't want other people to read, if you put on a discussion board, other people are going to read all memoirs. So any memoir that you write will go here. So you can put it on the discussion board. It's just other people will be able to read it. Or you can go to activities and assignments, and there's a place for your memoirs. All right. Sorry if the video is super long. It's the only one that will be long because it discusses, the class, the first assignment, and all that. So let me know if you have any questions. Email me, reach out if you have any issues or questions.